Hey now kids, come gather round, see what just skipped into town. So skip it, do run, do jump, do hop, hop. Skip it, skipping and a screaming and a bop, to bop. But the very best thing of all, there's a counter on this ball. So try to beat your very best score, see if you can jump a whole lot more. Skip it, come on everybody, skip it. Roaring good fun from Tiger Toys.
Hello, my name is Kimmy Neutron.
And I'm Tina Turner. Welcome to OT Network News. Today we're going to be doing something very special by taking a look back on this past decade.
Yes, the 90s held a lot of change for occupational therapists. Let's head over to Tammy Pickles for the report.
Now that's a banger! Thank you, Kimmy. OT went through some dramatic changes throughout the 90s, but we've had some pretty impressive accomplishments as well. Let's start with some general information on how this profession has continued to develop throughout the past 10 years. Clients have continued to become more culturally diverse, which means OTs have had to become more adaptable and widespread throughout the community. Therapy has also shifted toward that aging population, so we're seeing a lot more OTs in skilled nursing and older adult care. AIDS was continuing to be a problem in the US, but in 1996, the number of new AIDS cases declined for the first time in a hot minute. When treating someone with AIDS, OTs are used to provide general knowledge to the patients, coping strategies, and intervention strategies. During this time, though, a lot of people refused care, mostly due to the stigma that came with it. Throughout this decade, healthcare was going through some major reforms that were both idealistic and controversial. With new ideas and legislation being discussed, healthcare shifted toward a more business-like model. This gave more control of care to people outside of the normal realm because of reimbursement changes, and insurance companies can now say what they will and will not cover. Partly because of this, OT started becoming more involved in community-based practice. They saw the need for services outside of formal medical settings and realized the impact they could make out in the community. Technology also played a specific role in impacting how the way occupational therapists were to treat their clients. Computers and cell phones were becoming more widely used, which gave OTs the opportunity to use computers during their treatment sessions with clients. This also led to the start of online billing and documentation. During this decade, the establishment of occupational science as a discipline emerged. This led to more research and evidence-based practice regarding treatments. Whoop whoop, credibility! Toward the end of this decade, though, various cases of Medicare fraud led to the OT job market being saturated with qualified individuals, leading to job shortages. What a roller coaster, OTs, am I right? Back to you, Kimmy and Tina.
Thank you, Tammy. What a progressive decade we've had.
Now that we've got a general idea on what is going on in the profession of OT, let's head on over to our correspondent, TJ Tanner, for a brief timeline of some major events that affected OT during this time.
Hey there, guys! I didn't see you there. It's TJ Tanner, and we're gonna talk about the 90s. Let's get down to business, all right? Alrighty. 1990 was a busy year for legislative acts, so bear with me. First, we had IDEA. You know what that stands for? Individuals with Disability Education Acts. The name is self-explanatory, but all in all, it strives to provide better and more accessible education opportunities to people with disabilities. Then we had Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of the 1990s, Title VII Allied Health Project grants. This included minority/disadvantaged OT students in new scholarship programs and created a Center for Medical Rehabilitation Research. They designed a National Advisory Board on Medical Rehabilitation Research that expanded Medicare coverage, leading an OT community. This was crazy. Next was the AOTA. They tried to have an OTA program accredited by the Committee on Allied Health Education and Accreditation. This was later approved in 1991. One of arguably the biggest acts signed in 1990 was the ADA, Americans with Disability Act. This became a civil rights law that set guidelines to minimize and eliminate discrimination of people with disabilities in public situations. It also defined a lot of words that fall under an accessibility umbrella. For a better understanding, of what the Act is calling for. Although it was a good start towards inclusivity, we still have a long way to go to provide the best services and environment guidelines to people with all disabilities.
Thank you, Tammy Pickles and TJ Tanner, for that powerful and informative look on the OTs in the 90s.
You know what, Tina? All that change in occupation was due to the evolving society around us. Things like movies and books and music and TV shows all help paint a picture of our changing society and often play a role in promoting positive change in our field of work.
Doctor, he needs an operation.
Is it water on the knee?
Operation.
It's a whole bucket tea.
Operation.
A Charlie horse is true.
Operation.
I'm the doctor for you. Remove the pieces and collect your fee, but don't touch the sides. Take out the ribs carefully.
Operation.
Collect $1,000 fee.
Operation.
This broken heart won't do.
Operation.
I'm the doctor for you. How's it look? Good to me.
Operation. Light bright, shine so bright. Beautiful pictures come to light. Light bright, what a sight. Make my pictures glow so bright. Light bright, beautiful light. All my pictures are shining bright.
Bring beautiful pictures to light with Lite-Brite's colorful patterns or create your own designs. And with Lite-Brite full color refills, you can put designs in a whole new light. It's even more colorful fun than ever.
Light bright, beautiful light.
Light bulb and refill sold separately.
Come to light.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
The 90s was filled with many legislative advancements that propelled the field of occupational therapy into the future. In 1993, the AOTA Standards and Ethics Commission designed core values of occupational therapy, and later that year, the first legislative conference was held. There was nearly 350 attendees advocating for the profession on Capitol Hill. In 1994, the Accreditation Council for Occupational Therapy Education is founded and recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. Soon after, OTs and OTAs became accredited by ACOTE, which helped to enhance the legitimacy of the profession. Midway through the decade in 1995, OT practices published for the first time by AOTA, which further marketed and legitimized occupational therapy. In 1996, AOTCB becomes the National Board for Certification in Occupational Therapy. 1997 had two major events. First, Florence Clark wrote an article discussing the importance of OT in relation to the prevention of injury in older adults. Her article was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Next, the Balanced Budget Act made significant cuts to Medicare and therefore caused major disruption to the reimbursement of occupational therapy services. Many healthcare facilities, such as inpatient rehab, home health, and skilled nursing facilities, had to turn to a prospective payment system. Because many clients could not afford long-term services, an OT job shortage was created. However, one positive to the Balanced Budget Act was the creation of state children's health insurance program. In 1998, AOTA revised their vision statement, which now states AOTA advances occupational therapy as the preeminent profession in promoting the health, productivity, and quality of life of individuals and society through the therapeutic application of occupation. Finally, in 1999, OTs now can go to school for an entry-level post-bachelorate degree, and all schools have to adhere to ACOTE standards by 2007. Thank you, and now let's return to our regularly scheduled program.
For a special look at what the ADA helped accomplish, we have with us an accessibility contractor to show us some examples. Indiana Smith, give us the 4-1 on the ADA.
Hi y'all, I'm Indiana Smith, an ADA connoisseur if you will. Now the ADA covers various categories such as general guidelines, application based on building use, areas used only by employees as work areas, and temporary structures. And although this covers a lot, there are also a few exceptions to these rules. A new building doesn't have to be compliant with the ADA if they prove it's impossible or too costly to do so. And compliance is not required for occupied spaces such as ladders, catwalks, etc. You know the job. So I'm going to go around this campus and figure out what's compliant and what's not. Check it out over here. There's benches. But just in case you have a friend that doesn't need a bench and has their own chair, haha! That's compliant. Let's move on. Look at this line here. It's perfect in the nighttime if you need to see where the bushes are, where the sidewalk is. This space. There's a space. There's a space. There's a space. Plenty of room to get from A to B to lunch to bathroom. Compliant. So we're heading to the library now. Gotta be quiet, you know, if people study and such. But look at this. Hands free. Compliant. Now these doors, let's test them. Not compliant. This door? Ooh, slow, but compliant. Now that's the ADA for you.
All right, do you want to see the braille that we're going to use? You just take your finger like so and feel for the braille. ADA compliant.
Ah, yes, the 90s, the time back when young Leo was stealing hearts, but not Oscars, am I right? Jack wasn't letting go, but Rose had different plans. Titanic was one of the greatest films of its time. It was made in the 90s, but set in the 1900s.
And let's not forget about the plethora of Disney movies such as Aladdin, Hocus Pocus, and The Jungle Book. And let's not forget The Lion King, which we now have the same kids that saw these originally in the 90s coming back to remakes in their 20s. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, Tina, there's no shame in 20-something-year-olds with their airheads and their baby bottle pops wearing their vintage Bobby Jack shirts to the newest Lion King. There's actually something nostalgic about it.
I was thinking the exact same thing, Kimmy. I want it that way, if you know what I mean.
Woohoo!
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Soccer boppers, soccer boppers. You can sock all day and bop all night. Soccer boppers, soccer boppers. More fun than a pillow fight. Blow 'em up, put your hand inside, get ready to have the time of your life. Soccer boppers, soccer boppers. Sock 'em once and bop 'em twice. Soccer boppers, soccer boppers.
Soccer Boppers, more fun than a pillow fight by Big Time Toys.
Soccer boppers.
I'm Polly Pocket. Want to see what's new? Really fun compacts just for you. Polly Pocket has a stage where she dances ballet. In her shiny tutu, so pretty today. Polly Pocket. Polly's water fun park, a big slide for the pair. Then happy birthday, surprise, it's a bear. Polly Pocket. Polly Pocket. Now there's lots more ways to have a Polly day.
Polly Pocket Party Time Surprise, Water Fun Park, and Ballerina Polly Compacts are each sold separately.
For all those gamers out there, let's take a look into the sports and technology segment with our special hostess, Amanda Pines.
The 1990s were full of many memorable sports achievements, some glorious and others not so much. Let's begin on September 4th, 1993, where New York Yankees pitcher Jim Abbott, who was born without a right hand, threw the first recorded no-hitter in almost 10 years. In 1991, Magic Johnson shocked the sports world by announcing his retirement due to his diagnosis of HIV. From 1991 to 1993, the Chicago Bulls took home 3 national championship titles thanks to Michael Jordan. He was the best player in the NBA, carrying the Bulls to 6 NBA championships. In 1994, the Rangers won the Stanley Cup after defeating Vancouver in a thrilling Game 7. Previously, the Rangers had not won this title in almost 54 years. Also in 1994, the World Series championship was canceled due to a strike by the Major League Baseball Players Association. In 1996, Carrie Strung became the hero of the 1996 Olympics after injuring her ankle and landing her final vault on one leg to secure the U.S. team's gold medal. Technology also had major advancements in the 90s. In 1991, the World Wide Web was created, and companies began integrating technology into toys, such as Furbies, Tamagotchi, and Game Boys. By the end of the 90s, Y2K was also created.
Speaking of entertainment, we have a very special surprise for our viewers today. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to give a warm welcome to the Backstreet Boys!
My fire, the one desire, believe when I say that I want it that way. That we are two worlds apart. I can't reach to your heart when you say that I want it that way. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Am I your fire, your one desire? Yes, I know it's too late, but I want it that way. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Now I can see that we're falling apart from the way that it used to be. Yeah, no matter the distance, I want you to know that deep down inside of me, you are my fire, the one desire. You are. So wanna hear you say, yeah, yeah, yeah. So wanna hear you say, wanna hear you say, oh yeah, I want it that way. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say, I want it that way. Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way.
Wow, the 90s were filled with so many amazing changes in both entertainment and our profession.
Yes, Kimmy. Let's head on over to Nancy Thornberry for her report on major historical events throughout this decade.
Thanks, Tina. Perhaps the most notable historical event of this decade was the United States' involvement in the Gulf War. In 1990, we witnessed Saddam Hussein, the dictator of Iraq, invade Kuwait with the apparent aim of acquiring the nation's large oil reserves. Kuwait was a major supplier of oil to the United States. The Iraqi takeover posed an immediate threat to neighboring Saudi Arabia, another major exporter of oil. If Saudi Arabia fell to Saddam, Iraq would control 1/5 of the world's oil supply. All eyes were on the White House waiting for a response, and thus Operation Desert Shield was born.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the OT Network News.
And as we sign off for tonight, we want to leave our future and current occupational therapy viewers with an important quote from George H.W. Bush. No problem of human making is too great to be overcome by human ingenuity, human energy, and the untiring hope of the human spirit. Thank you, and have a nice night.
Let's Just In, a short film brought to you by Britney Beers. Check it out.
It all started one fateful day in Maryland. Early 90s, AOTA held the marks for OT and OTA. But in 1993, they got taken away. And NBCOT got them in 1996. Then, both of them, NBCOT and AOTA, signed a license agreement about the marks. This agreed that NBCOT gets control of the mark, but AOTA can still sell hats, pins, etc. Then, AOTA petitioned the Patent and Trademark Office to cancel NBCOT's registered certification marks. After that, NBCOT took AOTA to court. This was because NBCOT tried establishing a recertification program that mandated practitioners to disclose illegal behavior, but AOTA didn't agree. So NBC threw 13 claims at AOTA against them. AOTA said as if and sent 5 counterclaims back, and they fought. After that was taken care of, a compromise was made by District Judge Davis. She said NBCOT is entitled to judgment as a matter of law on its principal trademark and contract claims. The rest is history.
No one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke, you broke, your love life's the old way. It's like you're always